it's like
I
a
know there's some-
school-wide or an evening program, or like the mock car
Mock car
crash that we
crash.
did. Today I scheduled a speaker for October 7th to come in, so at a night program for parents and students. So I mean, they're not usually something that you can go back to. It's usually a guest that's invited in to make the presentation.
Well, I'm going to recommend that we take out the education on the first policy, on the first violation. I think we have a consensus to do that. You have a consensus?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we'll leave it in for the other two. All right, now we'll go to the, and I guess for this and for the next one, I'm going to ask John to report back on whether this does have an impact on attendance, because I don't support moving to alternate B. So I'm going to ask you, John, maybe even halfway through the year,
Sure.
to come in and let us know whether you see any impact. Let's go to, this is the second part of JHAE-R, Rules for Participating in Interscholastic Athletics. And the following intends to exceed the provisions of Chemical Health Rule number 62 as delineated by the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, MIAA. During the season of practice or play, no student shall, regardless of the quantity used, consume, possess, buy, sell, or give away any beverage containing alcohol or any tobacco product, marijuana, steroids, or any other controlled substance. Prescription medication prescribed for the student's use is to be stored in the nurse's office unless otherwise noted by a licensed physician consistent with school committee policy. This policy includes products such as NA or near beer. This standard is not intended to render guilt by association, e.g. student athletes might be present at a party where only a few violate this standard, However, it is suggested the student athletes show leadership and leave such a compromising situation. I'll point out that that's new language. I strongly support that language. It's a recommendation, and I think it's a good one to make. If a student in violation of this rule is unable to participate in interscholastic sports due to injury, academics, or otherwise, the penalty will not take effect until that student is able to participate again. Penalties. First violation. When the principal confirms, following an opportunity for the student to be heard, that a violation occurred, the student shall lose eligibility for the next consecutive interscholastic contests totaling 25% of all interscholastic contests in that sport. For the student, these penalties will be determined by the season the violation occurs. The student shall be allowed to remain at practice for the purpose of rehabilitation, but not allowed to play in regular season games during the penalty period. That's also a change. The student must participate in a chemical dependency educational program as approved by the principal. I think since we took that out on the last one, we also should take that out on this one for a first violation. Do we still have the consensus on that?
Yep.
Okay. All decimal parts of an event will be truncated, i.e. all fractional parts of an event will be dropped when calculating the 25% of the season as follows. Number of events per season and number of events penalty. If the season is 1 to 7 events, first violation causes loss of 1 event. If it's 8 to 11, it's 2 events. 12 to 15, it's 3 events. 16 to 19, it's 4 events. 20 or over is 5 events. Second violation. When the principal confirms, following an opportunity for the student to be heard, that a violation occurred, the student shall lose eligibility for the next consecutive interscholastic contest totaling 60% of all interscholastic contests in that sport. For the student, these penalties will be determined by the season the violation occurs. The student shall be allowed to remain at practice for the purpose of rehabilitation, but not be allowed to play in regular season games during the penalty period. Student must repeat, instead of repeat,
Participate.
the student must participate in a chemical dependency educational program as approved by the principal. All decimal parts of an event will be truncated, i.e. all fractional parts of an event will be dropped when calculating the 60% of the season as follows. 1 to 3 events, 1 event, 4 events, 2, 5 to 6 events, 3, 7 to 8 events, 4, 9 events, 5, 10 to 11, 6, 12 to 13, 7, 14, 8, 15 to 16 events, 9, 17 to 18 events, 10, 19 events, 11, 20 or over events, 12 events missed. The student will be ineligible, subsequent violations. The student will be ineligible to play any interscholastic athletics for a period of 1 calendar year. Other provisions. Penalties shall be cumulative each academic year. If the penalty period is not completed during the season of violation, the penalty shall carry over to the student's next season of actual participation, which may affect the eligibility status of the student during the next academic year. Alternate A. Oh, wait a minute.
alternate A comes out.
Oh,
Be
so
consistent.
alternate B,
Yeah, just want to be,
I'm assuming we're gonna be consistent.
and we change the dismissal thing, right?
Right.
right.
So alternate B, for other provisions. Further, all students who participate in athletics will be in attendance at school on the day of participation in any activity. For weekend or holiday activities, this requirement is waived. A student who is absent, dismissed, and then we'll add in their wording from the handbook, or suspended, either internally or externally, on the day of an activity, will not be allowed to participate in the activity. In exceptional cases, the principal or his designee may waive these conditions. In the case of a multi-day suspension, a student will not be allowed to participate in any activity for the duration of the suspension, including weekends. And then,
Excuse me, I feel like that this is a very long document. I don't know, I mean, we have folks reading through this, but do we need to repeat some of this? And
Yeah,
can
we do,
limit
because
the wording a little bit?
we have to repeat because it's for two different things. One's for sports and one's for extracurricular.
I see.
So we have to, and we really have to spell things out. I think it's really important. You'll find in a lot of these policies, it'll look like there's too many words.
Yeah.
But we try to be as specific as we can in spelling things out. So I think
My
that's.
fear is that people just won't pay attention when I read it, you know, I feel like if we had bullet point items maybe to track people to that.
It's something to look at is on the policy subcommittee. I think it's something to look at moving forward.
Okay.
Definitely. If we can shorten things. I think for this though, we really want to move this forward. So I would stick with the wording as we
Sure,
have it.
sure, okay.
And then all it notes here is, I'm not going to read the whole thing. For purposes of reference only, rule number 62 of the Mass Interscholastic Athletic Association states, and then we list what the MIAA rules are. Do I have a motion to approve the first reading as amended?
I'd move to approve the first reading as amended.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Discussion? John?
Just a comment, in previously we had, that the penalties were cumulative each academic year. Do you still want to keep that? In other words, a student could have 4 violations over their high school career, one each of their school years, currently.
We have that in, under other provisions, on the third page, John, it says, right
Oh, I'm
next to it.
sorry. Yep. I
Penalty
see
shall
that.
be cumulative each
I'm
academic
sorry.
year.
Yep, that's it.
The only discussion, and I just want to repeat, I do want to get, I don't think you're going to see a major change in attendance. I'm hoping you don't. But if you do, I think we're going to have to revisit this.
Come back.
For clarification.
Yes.
Under the alternate B, did you remove for weekend or holiday activities?
No, I think we've
No,
left
we
that
left
in.
that
just
in.
as
Did leave it
Cliff
in.
said, I
Just
think
for
it's
clarification.
the easiest way to clarify it.
And then we're going to put in, John, if John can get you the wording for what the dismissal policy says, both there and at the other alternate B at the top. And then we'll do a second reading at the next meeting. Any further discussion?
I'm not sure what that educational program is yet. We
It's
haven't
gonna be
defined that.
Determined by
Is
the
it-
principals.
Okay,
It's
so
gonna be
we'll leave it at
John's-
that.
I think
yeah.
that's the best we left it
Right.
at, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I think if John has an issue with that, he will come back and let us know whether he has a program and it's gonna be difficult to implement. He'll either come to us or he'll come to Kathy, I'm sure, and inform us of that, so.
That educational program could be 10 minutes with John.
Could be.
I mean, if you think
Or a
about
health
it a
teacher,
little
or-
bit, the way
right.
this is written, it could be 10 minutes sitting down with John giving him a little discussion about the
Reviewing
implications
the
of life.
consequences.
Exactly.
That in my mind might be as effective as sitting in front of a screen and looking at, checking off boxes for an hour.
Right.
So it might even be more effective. It's the second time they do that, they'll probably be a little bit more shy.
So we have a motion and a second for the first reading as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
4-1. Ms. Ericetti in opposition. So John, we'll do the second reading next time. So that means that you have to print our next meeting is a workshop that we can do the second reading at. It's our goals workshop. Is that August
23rd.
23rd? That's gonna be too late to get the handbook printed, right? So I guess,
Do an amendment to the handbook as a separate
Well, you
document.
could do the amendment, or you could do what we did in the past and just call a quick 15-minute session, post it.
no, I'm saying, what does he print now in the handbook? Because he has to go to print before our next meeting, before we do the second reading.
When do you have to go to print, John?
Well, I need 2 weeks to print it.
What I'm suggesting, Mel, is if you can get 3 of us here for an abbreviated meeting like we did on the school choice,
So maybe schedule another meeting before the 23rd?
just for that purpose, just to have us show up and just next week, and just get 3
So if we
people.
try to do that, John, and we get something approved by next week, and
Maybe
then,
before, we have a secondary school building committee meeting on Tuesday. Could we do something before that meeting?
Yeah, we could possibly do that, because Cliff and I will be there.
I won't
think-
be
Oh,
there.
you won't be there, all right.
That's what, the 10th?
I can come to that.
Hold on. You guys promise to stay there before I get there
That's
this
gotta
time?
be posted as a
Right.
school committee meeting too.
The 10th, I can make it.
What time is SSBC?
6:30?
And we have a program at 5:30 at the public library.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm opposing
Yeah,
this
she's
entirely.
opposed.
Oh, yeah, she's
you won't
opposed,
be
so we
there.
can't.
Well, it would be okay if Mel's in favor, you'd still be all voted 2-1.
Okay, well, that's
No,
fine.
no, but wait a minute, the new open meeting law, is that just for going into, is that just for going, no, I don't think
We're
it
not
would.
in executive session, so it doesn't matter. That applies to, I thought.
Does
applies
just
to
apply to,
executive
oh, that
session.
just applies to going into executive session, the new open meeting law.
In
You have
order for John to get this approved, I mean, we just have to just stop by, post the meeting is all we really have to do. and
But we
have-
need the correct wording,
Yeah,
so we need all those changes made, and then we need to
Second
get
reading.
the second reading.
What
So-
time are we doing at this thing? 6:30, 10th?
Or John could jump ahead and make an assumption that the handbook will be as he determines it to be.
Right, but he also needs the right wording too. We don't have the right wording yet. We don't have the amended document.
I certainly can come to another meeting. I just suggested that night because I knew that there were
But
2 members.
if you're,
It doesn't
I could
have
do
to
it
be.
that night, but if you're at the public library at 5:30, and then if you're here at 6:30, the only thing I could suggest is moving the SSBC back to 7, and the school committee meets at 6:30.
either that or
Or school committee at 5,
John, please.
She could-
Worcester.
or after. Or like I said, I'm happy to
Be
come
kind.
another night.
What's
It's-
Mike's availability? If we get 3 of us here at 6:25, if you get 3 of us here at 6:25.
Why don't we just say,
wouldn't
can you do
I mean, on
6:15
Something of
even?
this nature, don't you want all 5?
I could do 6:15.
What day?
Well, Cliff will not be here.
10th?
Cliff's on vacation.
Next
So
Tuesday?
maybe pick
Yeah.
another.
I've gotta
I can be there as long as
Give
it's
a day.
6:30 or after. I cannot make it before then. I have a 5 o'clock meeting.
It would take us 2 minutes to
What
do
time
it.
does the SSBC run till?
It doesn't usually run very long, I
Hour.
usually, yeah.
Can we say 8? No?
We're not
Then we'll be
anywhere
hanging
near
around here.
7:30?
You don't wanna do it at 6:20, or
Karen can't make it.
Mike can make it, I can make it, and you can make it,
Good.
All right, so 6:15 on the 10th.
okay? Just if we post that and we show up and vote and we're done with it.
So the assumption is that following a second reading, the committee takes a vote and then that's it? It's
Yes.
enacted?
Right.
Yeah.
6:15 on.
So you have to post that right away, and it's just that one agenda item. Watch me go home now, and I'll have something on my calendar that I can't be here.
Just call
I
me
mean,
if that
I do
happens.
wanna just make sure that Mr. Venezia understands that I do understand where you're coming from on the matter of the tardies, and I don't think you're looking at it to weaken and all of a sudden open the floodgates to allow students. I want to be clear that you
Yeah,
understand.
I'm an
that I
advocate,
know
John,
that.
of attendance,
And I think I know you well enough that that's right. I respectfully disagree. I think the policy, both the tardy and the chemical health policy as they exist are, that's my opinion, is the principle that they're both sufficient, but I certainly respect other opinions.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, John.
Okay,
We'll see you next week.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now the next on the agenda, we're going to have the middle school handbook, and we'll bring up, John and Patrick. John. And actually, I think before we get to that,
Who's
Kathy would like to make a,
Is somebody gonna do this, or am I supposed to do this?
we'll talk about it after that. I don't think you have to do it. So Kathy?
Yes, I'm requesting that I take, under routine matters, staffing, the update on the Director of Academic Services out of order, please.
Okay.
Because Patrick Daly is here as the current assistant principal of the middle school. But I'm very pleased to announce that Patrick Daly was offered and accepted the new Director of Academic Services position for the North Reading
Wow.
Public School District. So
Congratulations.
I'd like to congratulate him.
Great.
That didn't take long.
Well, we,
Now we have
That was a
another
quick
opening.
ladder to climb. That was very good.